For ages uncounted, long before kingdoms rose and long after kingdoms fell, there existed one prophecy so dangerous, so divine, so universe-shifting that no mortal was allowed to read it and no angel was permitted to speak it. It was a scroll no elder touched, the scripture no sage translated, the text no throne dared to claim. A prophecy sealed 7 times, wrapped in celestial fire, guarded by watchers older than memory itself. A message written not in ink, but in living light. Every other prophecy about chosen bloodlines, sacred births, cosmic wars, fallen empires, rising kings, shifting eras, was merely the introduction to this final revelation, because this scroll was different. It wasn't about nations. It wasn't about eras. It wasn't about destruction. It was about a person. And last night, as realms trembled, as timelines converged, as your spirit unlocked a frequency you did not know you carried, the final seal broke. The scroll unrolled itself, the letters rearranged like living constellations, and the truth finally appeared. Your arrival, your identity, your awakening, your season, every battle you survived, every delay you endured, every intuition you couldn't explain, every spiritual pressure you felt. They were not random. They were preparations for this moment of unveiling. You were never reading prophecy. You were the prophecy. If you ever felt set apart in a way you couldn't explain, type 999, because the last prophecy wasn't predicting the end. It was predicting you. Long before your birth, long before your lineage existed, long before the world spoke your name, the final prophecy was already moving through centuries like a hidden river, unbroken, uncorrupted, undefeated. Empires rose and collapsed around it. Kings built monuments trying to possess it. Nations went to war attempting to seize it. But none succeeded, because this prophecy could not be held by anyone except the one it was written for. Floods drowned civilizations, yet the prophecy survived. Fires consumed temples, yet the scroll remained untouched. Entire kingdoms crumbled into dust, yet the final prophecy stayed intact, protected not by walls but by divine decree. It passed through the hands of forgotten priests, hidden mystics, ancient prophets, and celestial watchers, none of whom were allowed to read what was inside. They could feel its power. They could sense its weight. They could hear the hum of destiny sealed within it. But they were forbidden from breaking its silence. Why? Because the prophecy was not theirs. It outlived every empire for one reason only. It was waiting for you, not your ancestors, not past generations, not kings or conquerors. You, the moment your spirit awakened, the moment you stepped into identity, the moment you aligned with purpose, the prophecy recognized its rightful owner. That is why your life has felt guided and yet resisted, protected and yet pressured, hidden and yet chosen. Because through every century, through every war, through every collapse, the prophecy was being carried forward to reach the exact moment you would rise. Hidden inside the final prophecy was something no one expected, a name, not written in letters, but in frequency, not carved in ink, but encoded in light. A spiritual signature older than language, older than scripture, older than the bloodline you were born into. For centuries, scholars searched for it. They translated fragments. They studied symbols. They chased clues across ruins, deserts, temples. But they were blind to the truth. The name wasn't meant to be found. It was meant to be recognized. Because the prophecy wasn't waiting for someone to read the name. It was waiting for the one who matched it. Your soul carries a pattern that resonates with the scroll. Your spirit emits a frequency that awakens its text. Your presence alone is enough to unseal what angels themselves were forbidden to touch. This is why you've always felt different. Why certain places stirred your spirit. Why certain symbols called out to you. Why certain dreams returned again and again with impossible clarity. The prophecy was not giving you signs. It was calling you home. Your intuition wasn't imagination. It was recognition. Your inner pull wasn't emotion. It was alignment. Your sense of destiny wasn't ego. It was memory. Because long before you walked the earth, your name was already written in the final prophecy. Not your earthly name, the one you were given by family, but the name heaven calls you by, the identity sealed into your spirit before time was born. And when you awakened, the scroll responded. The text shifted. The lights rearranged. The prophecy finally whispered, "He has returned, the one written." Around the final prophecy stood 12 ancient guardians, beings not bound by flesh, not limited by time, not shaped by the rise and fall of eras. They are known in forgotten texts as the Watchers of the Last Revelation. For generations uncounted, they encircled the sealed scroll like living pillars of flame and thunder, each carrying a fragment of divine authority. They guarded it with vigilance beyond human comprehension, not because the prophecy was fragile, but because the world was not ready. No king could approach them. No prophet could command them. No celestial creature could bypass them. Their instructions were absolute. Protect the final prophecy until the one it speaks of awakens. And so they waited. Empires rose and fell. Civilizations were born and buried. New religions emerged. Old ones dissolved. Ages shifted like pages turning in a cosmic book. But the Watchers did not move, because they were not guarding a scroll. They were guarding your timeline. They sensed every shift in your spirit long before you ever felt it. They observed every turning point, every battle, every wound, every transformation. When you were lost, they watched. When you were broken, they waited. When you doubted yourself, they held the prophecy closer. And the moment your identity awakened, even faintly, even quietly, they felt like a shockwave across realms. The light around the scroll trembled. The seals began to warm. The Watchers lifted their heads. For the first time in ages, the Guardians stepped aside, not because the prophecy weakened, but because you strengthened. The protectorates of the final scroll finally recognized the signal they had waited millennia to see. The chosen one has awakened. Every moment of your life, every struggle, every delay, every breakthrough was not random, not accidental, not meaningless. They were signals, markers, foreshadows, silent confirmations that the final prophecy was orbiting your existence long before you knew it. You thought certain seasons broke you, but they were shaping you. You thought certain betrayals ruined you, but they were redirecting you. You thought certain losses ended you, but they were clearing the path for the identity you carry now. Nothing in your journey was wasted. The loneliness you felt, that was the isolation of the chosen. The heaviness on your chest, that was the weight of calling. The intuition that made no sense, that was the prophecy tapping your spirit. The recurring dreams, those were echoes from the scroll, nudging you toward remembrance. Your childhood moments of knowing, your teenage years of sensing, your adult years of awakening, they were all part of the same timeline, the same slow unveiling, the same divine choreography. Every time you survived something you shouldn't have survived, every time you rose from something meant to bury you, every time you felt pulled forward by a force you couldn't explain, heaven was confirming a truth you weren't ready to hear. You were the one the final prophecy was written about. The patterns you kept noticing, the synchronicities that intensified, the inner voice you tried to silence, the strange familiarity with spiritual things. They were never coincidence. They were activation points. Checkpoint after checkpoint leading you to this moment where the prophecy inside the scroll and the prophecy inside your soul finally align. Your life wasn't random. Your pain wasn't random. Your rise isn't random. Every chapter was pointing to the same revelation. The final prophecy was waiting for you. There's a reason the final prophecy remained sealed for ages. A reason no king, no priest, no prophet, no heavenly being was permitted to unroll it. It was not hidden because it was dangerous. It was hidden because it was timed. The prophecy could not be opened in the wrong era, by the wrong hands, under the wrong alignment. It required a specific moment. A moment written before time began. A moment heaven waited for with a patience older than creation. And that moment is now. For centuries, the scroll refused all access. Its seals would not crack. Its letters would not settle. Its meaning would not manifest. Not because it lacked power, but because its purpose hadn't arrived yet. Prophecy is not revealed by curiosity. It is revealed by destiny. The final prophecy unlocks only when the one it speaks of rises into identity. It needed your voice to strengthen, your spirit to awaken, your timeline to align, your inner truth to surface. It waited for your exhaustion to turn into clarity, your pain to turn into power, your confusion to turn into knowing. It waited for you to become the version of yourself that could carry the weight of what was written. The prophecy could only break open when your frequency matches frequency, when your soul finally remembered what heaven always knew. This is why everything in your life felt delayed, blocked, held back, suspended. You were not waiting for prophecy. Prophecy was waiting for you. And the moment your spirit stepped into its rightful identity, the seals surrendered, the scroll awakened, the final revelation began to speak. Because only now could you receive what has been hidden for ages, for generations. People whispered about what the final prophecy contained. Some said it foretold destruction. Others claimed it warned of a great war. Many believed it spoke of the end of days. But they were all wrong. Because when the scroll finally opened, its message did not speak of ruin or collapse or cosmic ending. It spoke of you. And what it revealed was nothing like the fear-soaked interpretations passed down through ages. The prophecy did not describe apocalypse. It described awakening. It did not speak of death. It spoke of rebirth. It did not announce global despair. It declared divine identity. The final prophecy reveals that the greatest shift in history would not come from kingdoms rising, nations falling, or stars collapsing. It would come from a single soul stepping into truth. You were not destined to end the world. You were destined to reset it, to reroute timelines, to restore what was broken, to awaken forgotten realms through your existence alone. The prophecy speaks of the one who remembers, the one who survives what should kill him, the one whose spirit refuses extinction, the one who walks through fire and commands it to obey. It describes a figure not of destruction, but of alignment, someone whose identity releases a chain reaction across realms. A catalyst, a revealer, a restorer, not the end of everything, but the beginning of everything new. This is why your presence shakes rooms, why your intuition pierces illusions, why your spirit carries weight you never understood. Because the final prophecy is not about catastrophe. It is about your emergence. Long before you understood your own strength, long before you realized your own calling, there were forces, unseen, unspoken, unnamed, that recognize you instantly. Not heavenly forces, not guardians, not watchers, but opposing realms. They sensed the prophecy around you before you ever sensed it within you. They detected the shift the moment you took your first steps into alignment. They recognized your light, even when you were surrounded by darkness. This is why your battles were so intense. This is why certain seasons felt impossible. This is why you faced resistance that made no sense for someone like you, because you were never someone like you. You were the one the final prophecy warned them about. Dark forces don't react to ordinary souls, but they tremble when a prophetic one begins to awaken. You were targeted not because you were weak, but because you were dangerous to every system that thrives on confusion, fear, and silence. They saw signs you didn't. The spiritual mark you carried, the resilience you showed, the intuition you couldn't suppress, the light you didn't know was shining, the destiny written in your steps before you understood how to walk. Your struggles weren't attacks. They were attempts at prevention, attempts to exhaust you, distract you, delay you, break you before the moment your identity aligned and the prophecy activated. But every attack failed because every part of your journey was already foreseen. What tried to destroy, you only confirmed who you were becoming. You weren't just protected, you were prophesied. And the enemies who recognize you first now understand a truth they never wanted fulfilled. You've awakened, and the prophecy is in motion. There is a strength inside you never fully understood, a resilience that felt natural to you but impossible to others. People wonder how you kept rising, how you kept surviving, how you kept rebuilding yourself after storms that should have erased you. They didn't know that your strength was not personality, not stubbornness, not luck. It was prophecy, written long before your birth. The final scroll described a figure who would endure the impossible, not because life would be easy, but because heaven had embedded a supernatural force into their spirit. The prophecy called it the fire that cannot be extinguished. It spoke of someone whose heart would refuse collapse, whose spirit would refuse surrender, whose destiny would refuse delay. And that strength, the one you always thought was normal, is the very evidence that the prophecy has been operating within you your entire life. Every time you bounce back from something meant to bury you, that was prophecy. Every time your intuition saved you from a disaster you didn't see coming, that was prophecy. Every time you felt guided by a feeling you couldn't explain, that was prophecy. Every time life tried to shatter you and you woke up stronger instead, that was prophecy. Your resilience was not self-taught. It was pre-written. Your intuition wasn't imagination. It was activation. Your survival wasn't coincidence. It was evidence. Because the final prophecy foretold that the one it spoke would carry an inner power that no darkness could extinguish and no circumstance could break. Your strength isn't a trait. It is a sign. Proof that what was written is now unfolding. There is a moment, a single instant in a chosen one's life, when destiny stops waiting and begins unfolding. For you, that moment has already happened. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It wasn't announced by thunder or fire. It was quiet, subtle, almost unnoticeable to the untrained eye. A decision you made, a boundary you set, a truth you accepted, a fear you refused to bow to. One act of alignment sent a shockwave through realms, and the scroll felt it. In that moment, your frequency rose to match the sealed prophecy. Your inner truth aligned with what had been written. Your spirit stepped into its rightful identity. The scroll responded instantly. What stayed locked for centuries softened. What resisted empires yielded. What angels guarded opened. Not because you forced it, but because you finally became the version of yourself the prophecy required. The moment you awakened, timelines shifted. The watchers stirred. Realms repositioned. Doors that were closed for years silently unlocked. You didn't chase destiny. You activated it. The prophecy wasn't released by chanting, rituals, or ancient knowledge. It was released the second your inner world matched your divine identity. A single moment of clarity rewrote spiritual weather. A single step forward reshaped your timeline. A single act of truth unsealed a prophecy that waited across ages. This is why you feel the shift. Why life suddenly feels different. Why your intuition is louder, your spirit sharper, your path clearer. Because the scroll is no longer sealed. It is active, and every part of your life is now responding to the moment you awakened and the prophecy finally recognized you. Inside the final prophecy lies a symbol older than every kingdom, older than every scripture, older even than the angels who guarded it. A crown hidden in the text, not a physical crown made of gold or jewels, but a spiritual authority woven into the prophecy itself. For ages, no one knew what it meant. Scholars argued. Mystics speculated. Prophets saw glimpses of its shape, but could never grasp its meaning. The crown was not meant for kings of the past or rulers of ancient thrones. It was meant for the one the prophecy would reveal. And when the scroll opened, when the letters reshaped themselves into living light, the truth became clear. The chosen one is both warrior and heir. The crown represents two realities. The one who survives what destroys others. The one who rises when logic says fall. The one whose battles forge an unbreakable spirit. The one who carries ancient authority. The one whose presence shifts realms. The one who steps into a role written before time. You were never meant to choose between strength and sovereignty, between endurance and elevation, between battle and belonging. The prophecy names you as both. This is why your life has always felt split, a fighter in the shadows, yet marked by something regal you couldn't explain. Victories that made no sense. Attacks that revealed your value. Moments where you felt bigger than this world and didn't know why. Your soul always knew what your mind couldn't articulate. You were born with a crown you hadn't grown into yet. The final prophecy doesn't give you identity. It confirms what heaven already placed in you. You are the warrior who endured so the heir could finally rise. And now that the scroll is unsealed, the crown hidden in the text is beginning to fit. When the final prophecy opened, it did more than reveal your identity. It shifted your timeline. The moment the scroll awakened, the moment your spirit aligned, the moment your inner truth rose to meet what was written about you, the old path beneath your feet began to collapse, not as punishment, but as completion. Every cycle that drained you, every pattern that trapped you, Every place where your spirit outgrew its surroundings, those timelines began dissolving the second the prophecy activated, because destiny has no interest in keeping you somewhere you have already surpassed. This is why doors closed suddenly, why relationships faded quietly, why desires changed unexpectedly, why environments that once felt familiar now feel too small for your soul. Your spirit isn't malfunctioning, it's transitioning. The prophecy didn't just reveal who you are, it revealed where you must go next. And so a new path began to open, subtle at first, like a whisper, like a flicker in the dark, like a sense that something is calling. But with each passing day, that subtle pull grows stronger. A new timeline is unfolding, one aligned with your true identity, your true season, your true assignment. This new path is marked by clarity replacing confusion acceleration, replacing delay opportunity, replacing stagnation alignment, replacing chaos divine timing, replacing random events. You are stepping into a chapter where life no longer happens to you. It responds to you, because the prophecy doesn't follow your path. Your path follows the prophecy. The old roads are closing not because you failed, but because you outgrew them. The new timeline is opening because you finally match the frequency of who you were always meant to become. And now destiny is repositioning everything to align with the written revelation. The chosen one walks a different road. When the final prophecy activated, it didn't just shift your life. It shifted everything around you. Realms you cannot see, timelines you cannot touch, energies you cannot name, all began to move in response to your awakening. Because a prophecy this old, this powerful, this cosmically anchored does not unfold quietly. It shakes dimensions. It rearranges destinies. It forces both light and darkness to reposition themselves around the one revealed. This is why the world suddenly feels different, why time feels faster, why intuition feels sharper, why silence feels louder, why opportunities appear instantly and illusions collapse instantly. Nothing is malfunctioning. Everything is recalibrating. Your awakening has consequences far beyond your personal story. The prophecy describes this moment as the shift of the ages, not a global catastrophe, but a cosmic realignment. A moment when the chosen one rises and all spiritual architecture must bend to accommodate the ascent. Angels reposition. Watchers adjust their stations. Destinies reroute. People are drawn toward you or removed from your path with divine precision. Even nature responds. Even time responds. Even silence responds. Because when the final prophecy awakens, all creation participates. You felt it. That subtle trembling in your spirit, that heightened sense of atmosphere, that sudden awareness that everything is moving even when your body is still. That's because you have become a gravitational point for purpose. Your identity now pulls things into alignment. Your presence now shifts spiritual weather. Your timeline now carries weight that echoes through realms. You are not walking through the world. The world is reorganizing itself around you. This is a cosmic consequence written inside the final prophecy. When he awakens, everything changes. Before the final prophecy sealed itself, before the watchers took their posts, before the scroll was hidden from kings, a prayer was written deep within its light. A prayer meant only for the one the prophecy would one day reveal. Not a prayer of desperation, but a prayer of activation, a divine alignment, a calling into identity. And now that the scroll is opened, the prayer rises again, not from paper or ink, but from the realms that crafted your destiny. Ancient author of all timelines, keeper of the hidden scrolls, architect of prophecy and purpose, I stand in the light that was written for me before time took its first breath. Reveal the fullness of what was sealed. Let my spirit remember what my soul was shown in the beginning. Align my steps with the path you carved through ages to bring me to this moment. Awaken every dormant gift. Activate every buried memory. Strengthen every part of me designed to carry divine identity. Let clarity burn away confusion. Let courage drown out fear. Let purpose silence hesitation. Guide my voice, my decisions, my relationships, my path according to prophecy you declared before foundations were laid. Where I am blind, give sight. Where I am hesitant, give confirmation. Where I am weary, give fire. Let no force of darkness delay me. Let no false path distract me. Let no old timeline claim me. I step into the era that was written for me. I accept the crown hidden in the scroll. I take my place within the prophecy you preserved through ages. The seal is broken. The time is now. I rise. This is not a prayer you repeat. It is a prayer you become. Its words rearrange your spirit. Its decree rewrites your atmosphere. Its power aligns you with the destiny written before the world knew your name. And now, chosen one, we arrive at the truth the entire universe has been circling for ages. The truth every prophecy hinted at, every dream whispered, every battle confirmed. The final prophecy was never about kingdoms collapsing, or stars falling, or the world ending in fire. It was about a revealing. You're revealing. It foretold a moment a soul carrying ancient authority would awaken in a modern age, carrying a frequency that realms could no longer ignore. It spoke of the one whose rise would recalibrate timelines, whose identity would expose illusions, whose presence alone would mark the transition between eras. You were never an observer of spiritual history. You were fulfillment of it. The scroll remained sealed because it was waiting for your breath. The watchers stood guard because they were waiting for your signal. The prophecy stayed silent because it was waiting for your awakening. And now that you have risen, not perfectly, not flawlessly, but authentically, the prophecy has recognized its heir. Everything in your life now aligns with a higher architecture. Everything around you responds to your frequency. Everything ahead opens because of who you have become. You are not walking into destiny. Destiny is unfolding around you. You are not chasing prophecy. Prophecy is following you. You are not stepping into a role. You are stepping into a revelation written before the foundation of the world. This is why your spirit feels different. This is why your atmosphere has shifted. This is why time itself feels like it bends around your steps. Because the final prophecy is no longer sealed. It is no longer waiting. It is no longer silent. It is active. It is unfolding. It is yours. You are the one the scroll was written for. The one the watchers guarded. The one the enemies feared. The one heaven foresaw. You are the final revelation. If you feel the prophecy stirring in your spirit, if every part of you knows this message was meant for you, type 999 in the comments. Not as belief, but as confirmation that the prophecy has found its rightful heir.